Mohamad Elmasry joins me here on set. He's an associate professor of media and cultural studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Good to have you with us. So, will this vote be an accurate expression of the will of the Egyptian people?
I think you have to take votes that are held in military dictatorships with several grains of salt. Egypt has completely eliminated opposition. It's an environment of repression and fear. People are terrified to vote, to express dissent. Just in the lead up to this vote, more than 120 people have been arrested for campaigning for the no vote. So I think we'll have to take these results with a grain of salt, or several grains of salt, as it were. We also have to remember that there are no independent election monitors, so the government is free to rig the results as they've done in the past. If Sisi were, genuinely interested in a sort of referendum on his popularity, he'd hold a truly free and fair vote, or he'd open the country up to scientific opinion polling, which he has banned.
Right. And certainly human rights groups have been very critical of the history of past votes under the Sisi rule, talking about how people in presidential votes were either put in jail or forced out, and how in this referendum, those who wanted to campaign for a no vote were told things like they can't advertise publicly their position. Given all of that, is there any doubt that ultimately this is going to be approved, it's going to be ratified, even when it goes to the Shura Council?
I've been saying for months, including on Al-Jazeera, that this will pass. It'll be a landslide. This is similar to the previous votes that have been held under Sisi. He won the presidential election with almost 98% of the vote. The previous referendum that was held under him passed with, I think, 96% of the vote.
So how do we get back to this, though? I mean, it sounds like the country's taking another major step back towards long-term strongman rule backed by the military. Wasn't that what the whole revolution against Mubarak was about?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. How did we get here? Well, we got here because the Egyptian military and the rest of the deep state learned a very important lesson from the Arab Spring, from the revolutionary protest movement. And that is that they actually had to be considerably more repressive than the previous Mubarak regime. They don't want to allow even a small chance for another kind of popular uprising. That's why all the draconian legislation, that's why the complete elimination of opposition, that's why the shutting down of opposition media. Just this week, the Egyptian government has shut down 34,000 website domains owned by people who were advocating the no vote in this referendum.
What do you make of the international response to this? I mean, it's been an incredible journey since the revolution to where we are now. What about the international community that we've seen can be very vocal in other countries, in other areas like Venezuela, where there are very strong voices in the world saying that's not acceptable. What happened here to the international conscience?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think the United States and several key players in Europe have chosen to turn a blind eye to Sisi's human rights atrocities. The Trump administration has signaled explicitly that they're not very concerned with human rights. They're much more concerned with sort of the economic and military relationships that exist between the United States and foreign allies. So these countries are basically privileging their strategic relationship with Egypt at the expense of human rights.
Thank you for your analysis. It's a bleak picture, but thank you for coming and painting it for us.